When you first meet a narcissistic woman, she often appears almost perfect, polished, confident, and captivating in a way that feels magnetic. She knows exactly how to present herself as everything you've ever wanted. Charming, articulate, even empathetic. But this perfection is not authenticity. It's a carefully constructed facade. What you're seeing is not her true self, but the performance of one. The narcissistic woman lives in the illusion of her own image. She needs admiration the way most people need air. Every word, every gesture, every compliment is crafted to maintain that illusion of superiority and control. Underneath that exterior lies a fragile identity built on fear. The fear of being ordinary, of being unseen, of losing power. She wears the mask not out of confidence, but out of desperation to keep others from seeing how hollow she truly feels inside. This is why her perfection always comes with tension, a quiet, almost invisible pressure that something isn't quite real. If you want to see her true nature, don't be blinded by the glow of her perfection. Look instead for the cracks where the mask slips, because authenticity never needs to be performed. What makes a narcissistic woman truly dangerous isn't her confidence. It's her quiet ability to manipulate perception. She doesn't need to shout or demand. She plants seeds of doubt so subtly that you begin to question your own reality. Her control comes through confusion, through making you second, guess what you saw, what you felt, even what you know to be true. She might twist your words, reinterpret your emotions, or turn your genuine concern into an accusation. Slowly, your clarity begins to erode, replaced by uncertainty and self-blame. This manipulation isn't random, it's psychological art. She understands human weakness, the desire to be understood, the need for peace, the fear of losing love, and she uses them as levers. Over time, she conditions you to seek her approval just to restore emotional balance. The more you try to make sense of her contradictions, the more you fall into her web. The most effective manipulation doesn't control your actions. It controls your perception of yourself. And once that happens, she doesn't need to hold you captive. You hold yourself there. To break free, you must choose clarity over comfort, because truth, no matter how painful, is the only form of real freedom. What makes a narcissistic woman truly dangerous isn't her confidence. It's her quiet ability to manipulate perception. She doesn't need to shout or demand. She plants seeds of doubt so subtly that you begin to question your own reality. Her control comes through confusion, through making you second, guess what you saw, what you felt, even what you know to be true. She might twist your words, reinterpret your emotions, or turn your genuine concern into an accusation. Slowly, your clarity begins to erode, replaced by uncertainty and self-blame. This manipulation isn't random, it's psychological art. She understands human weakness, the desire to be understood, the need for peace, the fear of losing love, and she uses them as levers. Over time, she conditions you to seek her approval just to restore emotional balance. The more you try to make sense of her contradictions, the more you fall into her web. The most effective manipulation doesn't control your actions. It controls your perception of yourself. And once that happens, she doesn't need to hold you captive. You hold yourself there. To break free, you must choose clarity over comfort, because truth, no matter how painful, is the only form of real freedom. In every interaction with a narcissistic woman, there is an unspoken transaction taking place, not of love, but of energy. She feeds on your admiration, your empathy, your attention. Each time you share a piece of yourself, your fears, your dreams, your affection, she takes it, not to connect, but to consume. What begins as emotional intimacy slowly becomes emotional extraction. You give, believing you're nurturing a bond. But in truth, you're fueling her sense of power. This is why relationships with her feel both intoxicating and exhausting. You leave every conversation slightly drained, yet strangely compelled to return. It's a psychological loop. The more you give, the less you feel like yourself. And when she senses that you've been emptied, she detaches without remorse, moving on as if your existence was merely a chapter in her self-narrative. To her, people are mirrors, valued only when they reflect her brilliance back to her. When that reflection fades, so does her interest. The deepest realization you can have is this: what she calls love is dependency, not connection. True love gives life to both souls. It doesn't drain one to sustain the illusion of the other. A narcissistic woman often presents herself as deeply empathetic, attentive, understanding, even spiritually aware. She mirrors your emotions so convincingly that you begin to believe she truly feels them. But what she's practicing is imitation, not empathy. Her compassion is a performance, a reflection of what she's observed in others, rather than something she's genuinely capable of feeling. She studies emotional responses the way an actor studies a script, learning when to comfort, when to appear wounded, when to seem selfless. It's a skill, not a sentiment. The illusion works because most people want to believe in emotional sincerity. We assume warmth means care and tears mean truth. But with her, those signals are tools, strategies to elicit trust and loyalty. The moment empathy stops serving her ego, it vanishes. You'll see it in how quickly her concern turns to coldness when she's not the center of the story. This isn't empathy. It's manipulation wrapped in emotional mimicry. To see the truth, you must stop listening to her words and start observing her consistency. Because genuine empathy isn't performed under the spotlight. It lives quietly in the dark, where no one is watching, and where love asks for nothing in return. Once the illusion of perfection begins to fade, the narcissistic woman's true nature starts to reveal itself through a quiet but deliberate shift. The phase of devaluation. The same person who once praised you endlessly now finds subtle ways to diminish you. She'll mock your achievements, question your intentions, or compare you unfavorably to others. What once felt like deep admiration turns into a constant sense of inadequacy. This reversal isn't accidental, it's psychological control. By alternating affection with rejection, she keeps you emotionally dependent, always trying to regain her approval. In Jungian terms, this reflects the archetype of the shadow, the part of the psyche that projects its own insecurities onto others. Her criticism of you is really a reflection of what she refuses to face within herself. The more threatened she feels by your strength or independence, the more she will attempt to dismantle it. The tragedy is that many mistake this cycle for passion, believing the highs and lows are proof of depth. But chaos is not love, it's control. The moment you stop seeking validation from her storm, you reclaim your power. Love should awaken your worth, not make you doubt it. In the end, understanding the true nature of a narcissistic woman comes down to recognizing three simple but powerful signs. First, watch what happens when she's ignored. The mask begins to crack because her identity depends on attention. Indifference is her greatest enemy. It starves her illusion of control. Second, observe how she plays the victim when confronted. Accountability feels like humiliation to her, so she rewrites the story, painting herself as the one who's been wronged. It's not truth she seeks, but sympathy, the currency that keeps her manipulation alive. And third, notice her lack of genuine remorse. When she hurts someone, she doesn't feel guilt, only inconvenience. Empathy requires self-awareness, and that's something her ego cannot tolerate. These three signs are not random behaviors. They are reflections of a deeper psychological emptiness. Behind the charm and confidence lies a fragile self built on fear. Fear of exposure, fear of insignificance, fear of truth. Once you see these signs clearly, the illusion fades, and so does her power. Because awareness itself is liberation. The moment you stop reacting, you stop feeding her control. And that's when you finally reclaim your peace, your clarity, and yourself.